Hey there and welcome back to Sea Power. In this first mod showcase we're going to have a look at some mods that change a couple of the aircraft carriers. Standard, this is the Nimitz, and the Nimitz has the capability of launching aircraft, of course. Unfortunately, there are some limitations, because the Nimitz only has 2 elevators that are currently working in the game. As such, you can definitely bring a couple of aircraft to the deck, surely. But you are limited to those elevators, so if you want to bring more aircraft to the deck, more time is required. Now that's one of the limitations of this carrier. The second is that if you are launching an aircraft, you cannot retrieve an aircraft. And Riley's Rogues, a creator on the Steam Workshop, has decided that is unacceptable. So he has created a couple mods for various aircraft carriers. Let's fire up the Nimitz again, but this time with his mod. So here's the new Nimitz, or rather in this case the Dwight D. Eisenhower. You can see that the model is slightly different. The deck has been cleared, and the deck space now allows for 4 elevators. So if I now launch a flight of, let's say, 4 A6s, immediately we'll be seeing more of these elevators get to work. Your aircraft carrier now has the capacity to launch a lot faster, and especially if you're coming under attack, or you just want to get your birds in the air faster, this is definitely going to help. Of course, they cannot all take off at the exact same time, because you only got this many catapults. And if they all launch at the same time, you might run into trouble. But thankfully, that right now is not a problem. I'm going to tell a couple of these birds to come back to base, so the whole cupcake flight is going to come back. That's when we can see the next part, which is that, of course, the cupcakes are going to come around. They're going to try and line up with the carrier. And as they're doing that, I'm going to prepare, I don't know, the rest of my F-14s for launch. Like, just launch all of them so that the carrier is going to be busy for a while. Air-to-air long range, there aren't really any threats. Immediately, all the elevators spring into action. And as the elevators are working, the other flight is lining up, preparing for landing. I do find that it takes a little too long. I don't really like how long it takes for the aircraft to do their whole landing rotation. But okay, I guess that's part of the game. In the meanwhile, we have the F-14s coming off the deck. And, I mean, it still looks gorgeous, but if you have more elevators, it just works better. I'd say the carrier works more efficient. Why exactly these aircraft carriers have been set up currently in the way that you can only have this many aircraft on the deck, I'm not sure. Might have been an aesthetic issue, where you always just have some aircraft lingering around. But it is, of course, a bit limiting to your capabilities. Now, here comes the next flight. That's Dakota 1. Dakota 1 is going to be a big flight. Let's get the other aircraft coming home. And once they're airborne, I hope that we don't... Gentlemen, you might actually be launching too fast. Yeah. First world problem. My aircraft carrier that I'm trying to showcase here, launching aircraft and recover them at the same time, is doing so too efficiently. It is making it impossible to capture the both landing and takeoff process. So as such, well, I guess you'll have to see about that in your own game. But these new aircraft carriers with their 4 elevators, I quite like them. And the Nimitz is not the only one that does that. He has also changed the Orel, so let's switch over to that. And here is the Orel, now with 3 working elevators. You can see that, much like Nimitz, her deck has been swept clean to make room for all of these elevators to work. And as such, you can also use the 3 catapults in order to launch your aircraft pretty quick. This is definitely a nice upgrade. This way, it's not as fast as a Nimitz. And again, I wouldn't really consider the Orel aircraft-wise to be as strong as the Nimitz. But hey, the Orel has all of those vertical launch cells over there, which definitely off-puts some of its, well, somewhat lacking striking capability using its aircraft. So there we go, there's the first flight being prepared. The elevators are also working independently, I should add. You can see that some of them are going down, the other one is waiting. We got more aircraft being wheeled out onto the elevators. Yeah, sorry, the catapults are standing by. I think this guy might go first, and then that guy, and then this one over here. I really like how many creators are getting active on the workshop. Initially, initially it was first scenarios, but after that, well, really after the early access started, I've seen weapons mods happen very quickly. And this is not strictly a weapon mod. Well, an aircraft carrier, I suppose, remotely could be considered a weapon. But this is definitely an interesting way to not have all your weapon systems changed and force you to relearn the game, but still have a slightly different experience. Especially if you're into aircraft carrier usage, this is going to probably be one up your alley. Now, there is also another adjustment that's been made to the Nimitz as one of his other mods, so let's have a look at that. So we're back to the Eisenhower, and this mod replaces the squadrons that this aircraft carrier carries with B-52s. Yes, because why not? Seems perfectly legit. We have a Strike Heavy, which is capable of launching them with Mark 82s, 108s of them. Or a Strike Long Range with a slightly lower bomb loadout, but a 42 loadout of the M117. Alternatively, we also get the F-15s, which you wouldn't typically find on an aircraft carrier. But here goes. So, yes, this is, again, the slightly modified version of the aircraft carrier, so we get all 4 elevators. You can see that the B-52 is a touch out of place. It doesn't really seem to fit the hangar that well, but then again, it's never supposed to be launched from an aircraft carrier. But hey, this is sea power. You can use mods, you can do whatever you want. It's a single-player game, you're not going to harm anybody. Although some people might be offended if you look at the comment section. Don't worry about them, it's your game. You can mod it as you see fit. And if you want to launch a B-52 off of the deck of the Eisenhower, by all means. Now, as for the capabilities of the aircraft, I would personally want to have these things armed with harpoons. But I'll take a bombing run. And yes, they do line up perfectly. Well, sort of perfectly. with the aircraft carrier deck. Let me just follow one of these gentlemen as they take off with these buffs. With a carrier or a bomber? Yeah, I'm following a bomber. Alright. I think the game is stuttering a little bit. Not too eager on how this whole thing looks. Which I get. There we go. In case you thought a B-52 needs a long runway, don't worry about it. This is fine. This is perfectly fine. We don't need a long runway. This is enough. We got a hefty catapult. And we're launching B-52s right off of the deck of the Eisenhower. Now, what are you going to do with these guys? I don't know. Because with a bomb loadout like that, you're going to have to fly very, very much into the enemy air envelope. Or rather, the enemy anti-air envelope. So, yeah, I guess it's going to be kind of risky. But, hey, if you want to have a go at something, I guess you can. Can I just bomb something regularly? Nope. Well, maybe. Of course, this is just part of the bomb loadout. And yeah, if you want to have some fun with it, by all means. I would, however, recommend disabling this mod in such a case as when you're doing a scenario, because it is probably not what the developer had in mind when creating a scenario. In some cases, in my scenarios, I do give you an aircraft carrier, but the aircraft carrier is never supposed to have this type of aircraft launched from it. The F-15, I can kind of work with on an aircraft carrier. I mean, it doesn't completely break scenarios, but of course it doesn't strictly belong there. Nevertheless, it is fun to play around with. I can see that the game kind of hangs up the moment that you launch the aircraft. Maybe because they're slightly too big. I'm not really sure. Now, aircraft coming up on the deck. I think the nose is going to get snapped off by the elevator. Thankfully, they just clip right through. And there we are, launching F-15s off the Eisenhower. It does say in the mod that it replaces the Eisenhower Nimitz class with B-52 squadron instead of the F-7. Warning, this has my Nimitz full capability mod built in, so the default Nimitz will be replaced with set mod. Only the Eisenhower will have the B-52 and F-15 squadrons. So any other aircraft carrier is just going to have the base stuff. Now, as for when you're unfamiliar with how to install and launch these mods, let me show you how that works. So how do you add these and other mods? Well, you go to C Power and you don't launch the game, but you go to the workshop. And over there you can find all the workshop items. In this case, the Nimitz full capacity is as one of the most popular items. And if you have a mod like this that you want to join, you just click subscribe. In this case, I am subscribed. So if I have it in the, let's say the vanilla setup, you're going to go with subscribe. You will see that the game updates very, very, very briefly because this is a tiny file. It's 415 kilobytes, so it's tiny. Once you have it subscribed, you can launch the game again, and in the game, we're going to have to enable the mod. Once you're in the C-Power main menu, you can go to Mod Manager, and over here, you'll be able to see the mods that you have added. So in this case, we're going to scroll down, and all the way down here, I find Nimitz a full capability. This is the one that just has the 4 elevators. If you want to have the full capacity with the B-52s and the F-15s, take this one. Don't take both, because the game is going to go, and I'll hold on, I don't know which one you want, so take one of them. In this case, I'm going to add the Nimitz full capability. I think this is a bit overpowered. I'm going to add the Orel full capability. I'm going to click accept. The game is going to say, I'm going to reload, and in the background, the game is going to reload, so it's going to go right back to the warning screen. In the background, it's loading up the game. Your mods is going to be activated, and this way you'll immediately be able to use those new units, use the new mods, use the new scenarios as well, depending on what you have added. As for using mods, I would be careful using them with scenarios. I would generally try and disable mods if you're using a scenario created by, well, let's say anybody else but you. If you have made your own scenario with a mod in mind, by all means. If not, then I would recommend being careful because they might break or make scenarios too easy. So in this case, I'm going to click play. I have added the standard CVBG, the carrier battle group, and it is now featuring that new Nimitz. So installing mods is just simply going to the Steam Workshop, selecting the mod that you want. And once you have that, you can then use the mod or activate the mod using the mod manager. And now you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 elevators all standing by. So that's the first mod showcase. If you have any other mods that I think, or that you think I should have a look at, by all means, let me know down below in the description, or rather in the comments. And I look forward to seeing what popular mods there are out there and how the game is going to continue to develop with the mods. I think having the game being as friendly to modding is very, very nice, because it just makes it so appealing to change the game all the way to your own liking. It almost becomes a sort of, well, not strictly sandbox experience, because you cannot mod everything, but you can mod a lot in this game. And the more, well, let's say the more variety in both weapon systems, as well as platforms and scenarios, I think is going to be a good thing for the game, especially for its longevity. So, hope this was useful. Have fun playing with all of your expanded capability aircraft carriers. And if you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see if I can help you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon for more.